I'm welcoming you all. This is the second part of our event on the port discussion. We had one 2 days ago. It was mainly focused on the project that was submitted by the World Bank. Today we are discussing a French project. We intend this as a series. We will not stop there. This is probably the closure of this public event, but probably our discussions about the port will go on. And also the discussions about the city, the planning, the urban issues, the aspects of our daily life in the city will also go on. And for this, we are very happy and very honored also to be partnering with the Beirut Urban Lab here at AUB, but also with the Arab Center for Architecture, or the Arab Center for Architecture. Hala Younes, thank you. And we were also very happy to have the support of Jad Thabit in this venture. Without further ado, I will leave the floor to Hala, and I wish you an enjoyable session today. Thank you.
Good evening. So today we are pleased to have François Sporer, head of the Regional Economic Service at the French Embassy for the Middle East, along with two consultant engineers joining us online, Osam Perrault and Sylvain Bourgois, from the leading French engineering firms Artelia and Aegis. They will present the technical expertise they have provided to the Ministry of Public Works and Transport to reorganize the port and identify short-term priorities. I would like to extend my gratitude to François for his prompt response to our invitation and his flexibility and cooperation in organizing this session, and to Cynthia Brown, who coordinated this event on behalf of Beirut Urban Lab and the Arab Center for Architecture. Thank you again for Issam Faris Institute for hosting us. The Arab Center for Architecture, with his partners, has gathered in this room architects and engineers concerned about the future of their city. They are eager to understand the reality of what the Ministry of Public Works and Transport is proposing for the reconstruction of Beirut and related issues. This is in line with our mission. The Arab Center for Architecture is dedicated to collecting, archiving, and promoting architectural and urban culture. It engages in cultural mediation with the public on matters related to architecture and the city. In collaboration with our partners, we aim to clarify the debate surrounding the reconstruction of the port, and there has been a great deal of misinformation or a lack of information on this topic. So we want to ensure this does not overshadow the core issue, which is the interconnected fate of Beirut and its port. The reconstruction of the port and its surrounding neighborhoods are matters of public interest. The choices and repercussions are political, societal, economic, environmental, and intimately linked to our collective memory. Therefore, public debate and hearing are crucial to ensure transparency and our participation in public policy. So, thank you again for accepting our invitation. Before we begin the session, and in light of the discussion from Tuesday and some of the questions raised by the audience, I feel it is necessary to revisit the recent history of the port to provide some background to our current discussion. From 1960 to 1990, the port of Beirut was operational in the development and functioning. It played a significant role in the development and functioning of this infrastructure. This company was the continuation of the Ottoman and French Compagnie du Port, des Quais et des Entrepôts de Beirut, established in 1887, and which has a duration of 103 years. This makes the port of Beirut older than the Lebanese Republic. But in 1960, the land became public domain and the company became Lebanese. The contractual agreement between this company and the Lebanese Republic ended in 1990. For the last 34 years, the port has been run by the Temporary Committee for Management and Investment of the Port of Beirut. This is under the supervision of the Ministry of Public Works and Transport. This authority is transitional by nature until a new management and privatization plan is established. In this context, following the 2020 blast, the World Bank provided assistance to Lebanon to reorganize the port sector. They drafted a new port law and a vision for Beirut port that were presented on Tuesday. Under this framework, financing and operation would depend on private sector. No financial, il n'y avait pas de volet de financement, using various concession procedures like BOT under what is known as a landlord port model. This vision was shelved, as we understood, because it did not align with the vision of the temporary port authorities. As for the law, it is now in the parliamentary limbo, and enforcing it could be a process that could take years. As for the container terminal, it has been run between 2004 and 2021 by a private consortium, Beirut Container Terminal Consortium, and in 2022, CMA-CGM won a bid to manage the container for 10 years. In 2023, the Minister of Public Works and Transport sought assistance from the French Embassy to implement emergency measures for cleaning, consolidation, and reconstruction of the port infrastructure. This initiative was coordinated with the Temporary Committee for Management and Investment of the port. The project was intended to be funded directly by the port revenues. We look forward to a time when Lebanon will be able to competitively engage the best local companies to propose integrated vision of the port and the city, and financial means to invest and operate this port for the benefit of the Lebanese people and in their names. But today, nearly 4 years after the explosion, the port remains in ruins. The investigation into the causes and responsibility behind the explosion has been unduly interrupted. This situation could persist for another decade in case necessary investigations, laws, reforms, and investment are not secured, voted, or implemented. And it's our responsibility as citizens to ensure that this happens the soonest. As engineers, we have ample time to reflect and discuss on the project of the Ministry of Public Works, at least until 7 p.m. So I would now introduce François and his team and will give them the floor. So François Sporer is a former student of the National Agronomic Institute of Paris-Grignon and National School of Rural Engineering of Water and Forest, and he holds a Master of Science in Rural Economics from the University of London. François Sporer started his career at the Ministry of Economy and Finance, Office of Foreign Policy at the Directorate of External Economic Relations. He held various positions in Indonesia, Hungary, Turkey, lately West Africa, and since 2022, François Sporer has been appointed as head of the Regional Economic Service of the Middle East in Beirut. Ossan Perrault, who is with us online, is a project director in Artelia, a major French group founded by the fusion of historic consultancy firms, Coteba, specialized in civil engineering, and Sogrea in water environmental infrastructure. I hope I'm not saying something out of the box. Ossan has 20 years of experience in maritime engineering and project management. She joined the Maritime Business Unit in Sogrea in 2001 and she is involved in port and coastal development projects. Before joining Artelia, she completed a PhD and held several research positions in France and the UK in the fields of fluid mechanics and estuary hydrodynamics. Sylvain Bourgois is the director of the Port Terminal Department at Aegis Group. He is a project director specialized in port terminal and port project management with more than 25 years experience. His expertise includes team management, port planning, technical assistance, and the delivery of passenger terminals, container terminals, bulk terminals, and port master plan. So the floor is yours, François, and after the presentation, we will have a panel discussion with the Léon Télévision that I might introduce now, Léon, excuse me, so that our guest will know who is the moderator. So Léon is an architect, urban planner, and university professor, founder and former chairperson of the Department of Urban Planning founder of CERDA, Centre d'études et de recherche en développement et aménagement at the Lebanese University. He is founder and managing partner of Upload, partner urban planning and local authority development, a consultancy firm since 2017. Over his extensive career as consultant, team leader, and senior researcher, he has published, studied, and observed the evolution, expansion, and intricate stratification of urban planning and policy practice in post-civil war Lebanon. So, François, would you like to begin?
Bonjour à tous, merci Ala, merci Joe, pour l'introduction. Vous m'entendez? Oui. Plus fort? Je vais parler plus fort. Two things. First, this is not the French project. This is a Lebanese project prepared by French experts that will explain it to you. But it has been really prepared with a very deep and regular coordination between the proposal from the experts that you will hear and the local Lebanese authorities, whether from the Port Authority or the Ministry of Public Works. Second point, if you don't mind, I will go to French. I can talk in English, but I will be, my mind will be more fluent in French if you agree. Pourquoi la France est intéressée au port? Le port est un axe prioritaire de l'intervention française au Liban depuis de nombreuses années, pour une raison très simple, et c'est pas à vous que je vais le démontrer, donc je vais passer très vite, c'est que nous considérons que c'est une infrastructure essentielle au fonctionnement du Liban. D'abord parce que le Liban importe une grande partie de ses équipements et de ses biens. Selon les années 80-85% du PIB libanais qui est importé. Donc on a besoin d'avoir une infrastructure efficace, moderne. Et au-delà de ça, il y a d'ailleurs le port du Liban comme plateforme potentielle pour des trafics internationaux qui utilisent le Beirut comme plateforme de transbordement, mais déjà donc pour son poids économique. Et deuxièmement, pour les finances publiques. Aujourd'hui, près de 2/3 des ressources de l'État libanais sont prélevés au niveau des frontières, et notamment au niveau du port de Beyrouth. Donc son rôle est fondamental, et il est nécessaire qu'il fonctionne bien de façon, encore une fois, fluide, efficace, aussi pour cette seconde raison. Depuis le terrible drame du 4 août, la France est intervenue immédiatement. Je ne vais pas refaire toute l'histoire, mais je vous donne quelques exemples. C'est l'armée française qui a fait les gros tas de débris que vous trouvez encore aujourd'hui au milieu du port. C'est une entreprise française sur financement français qui a déblayé et valorisé tous les grains qui avaient été éparpillés dans tout le port, qui a fait, la même entreprise qui a fait une étude sur l'estimation des quantités et leur valorisation des différents débris, scraps, qu'ils soient métalliques, débris de bâtiments, carcasses de voitures, etc., et voir comment on pourrait les valoriser, s'en débarrasser. Et d'ailleurs, au moment où on parle, je comprends que le ministre a fait une déclaration ce matin et que l'évacuation des déchets métalliques a commencé aujourd'hui au port de Beyrouth. Donc, machallah, il était temps. C'est la France qui, juste après l'explosion, a fourni un scanner pour scanner les containers qui rentrent ou qui sortent au port de Beyrouth, et qui aujourd'hui encore, bientôt 4 ans plus tard, est le seul scanner qui fonctionne sur le port de Beyrouth. Donc c'est pour vous dire, il y a un engagement vraiment de long terme et qu'on trouve dans d'autres domaines. On a une coopération en cours avec les douanes libanaises, qui sont évidemment un acteur institutionnel majeur du fonctionnement du port. Il y a un MOU qui a été signé entre le port de Beyrouth et le port de Marseille. Je pense que c'est très intéressant, on aura peut-être l'occasion d'en parler dans les questions. Le gouverneur de Beyrouth est allé à Marseille, c'était au mois de mars, je crois, pour voir comment fonctionne le port de Marseille et comment il est ou pas, on en parlera, intégré dans la ville de Marseille. Et puis on a déployé une coopération, je dirais, de long cours avec Expertise France. Je salue Cécile qui est là, sur différents sujets comme la sûreté portuaire, contribution, réflexion que tu mentionnais, Ala, sur la refonte de la loi portuaire, des réflexions sur l'organisation des contrôles en matière vétérinaire et phytosanitaire. Donc voilà, il y a tout un travail de coopération de long terme qui a été porté. Et puis donc, j'allais dire, finalement, les travaux qu'on va vous présenter maintenant, ça a été la dernière étape, la dernière couche qui a été proposée à la demande des autorités libanaises. C'était une demande, comme tu l'as dit, du ministre notamment, qui nous a demandé de l'aider à conceptualiser en fait les travaux, les aménagements, les éventuelles, comment dirais-je, modifications à apporter à l'organisation du port, mais de façon urgente, c'est-à-dire les travaux absolument nécessaires à entreprendre tout de suite, maintenant, sans préjuger de ce que pourrait être le port de Beyrouth demain ou dans 10 ans. C'était pas l'objet de nos travaux. À telle enseigne qu'on n'a pas refait de nouvelles études. On est parti des études qui existaient, que ce soit les travaux en cours de la Banque mondiale, puisqu'on a avancé un peu en parallèle finalement avec la Banque mondiale, ou des études qui avaient été faites avant, je pense aux travaux du cabinet Kateb et Alami, ou des travaux de master plan qui avaient été faits dans le passé sur le port, qui avaient déjà émis des idées, des hypothèses. Donc on a pris tout ce substrat d'études, de data qui existaient pour proposer des aménagements, et vous allez les voir quand Ozan et Sylvain vont vous les présenter. On ne vous présente pas, encore une fois, le port de demain. Les aménagements qu'on propose, qu'on a proposés aux autorités libanaises et aux autorités portuaires, c'est qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire maintenant, tout de suite, pour que le port se remette à fonctionner. Aujourd'hui, si vous allez sur le port, vous avez la zone container opérée par CMA-CGM qui fonctionne, et qui fonctionne plutôt bien. Et puis vous avez le reste qui est encore à moitié en vrac et qui a donc un fonctionnement suboptimal, à telle enseigne qu'une grande partie de l'activité générale cargo s'est déplacée sur le port de Tripoli, parce qu'on ne peut plus l'effectuer en l'état sur le port de Beyrouth. Donc je ne veux pas aller trop loin parce que je ne veux pas parler à la place de Ozan et Sylvain, mais vous verrez qu'il y a 3 volets dans ce qu'on a présenté. Il y a les gros travaux qu'il faut faire tout de suite, qui sont nécessaires parce qu'il y a des parties qui ont été abîmées. Il y a une réflexion sur la circulation au sein du port, ils vous expliqueront ça, et une réflexion sur énergétique pour essayer d'avoir un mix énergétique différent et notamment une plus grande part de solarisation au sein du port. J'anticipe une de vos questions. Je crois qu'elle a été posée d'ailleurs il y a 2 jours. D'emblée, et là pour le coup ça a été une mesure, un souhait de la part du gouvernement français et des experts français, la zone des silos, la zone de l'explosion, a été dans nos travaux sanctuarisée. Ça veut dire qu'on n'y a pas touché. C'est une zone où on a dit nous, on ne sait pas, on propose rien pour cette zone-là parce que il y a un débat qui est en cours, il y a une discussion qui est en cours au Liban. Quand la société libanaise, les autorités libanaises auront décidé du devenir de cette zone, et ben vous ferez donc les aménagements. Vous allez voir dans les plans qui vont vous être montrés, il y a une zone qui apparaît de mémoire en fuchsia au milieu où on dit nous là on propose rien. Ça ne veut pas dire qu'il faut rien faire, ça veut dire que nous on se permet pas de proposer quoi que ce soit pour cette zone-là. Je crois que je vous ai dit à peu près ce que je voulais vous dire en introduction. Encore une fois, s'il y avait 2 ou 3 choses à retenir de notre intervention, c'est que ça a été fait à la demande des autorités libanaises, dans le cadre d'un dialogue vraiment très étroit. Sylvain et Ozan sont venus très souvent à Beyrouth et à chaque fois, ils ont eu des réunions de travail, je crois qu'on peut dire très approfondies, avec les membres de l'autorité portuaire et le board de l'autorité portuaire, naturellement aussi avec le ministère des Travaux publics. L'objectif n'était pas, ah oui, si, j'ai oublié un point important que je vais vous mentionner. L'objectif, encore une fois, n'était pas de dire ce que doit être le port, ce que sera le port de Beyrouth dans 10 ans ou dans 20 ans. Notre objectif était beaucoup plus modeste, c'est de dire qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire tout de suite, maintenant, pour remettre ce port en état de fonctionner. Donc, vous verrez, il n'y a rien de révolutionnaire. Il n'y a pas de science-fiction dans ce qui est proposé. Et il y avait un autre postulat très important que j'ai oublié de vous mentionner, c'est l'objectif était aussi de proposer des travaux que le Liban peut financer. C'est pas anodin comme postulat. Vous connaissez la situation économique du Liban aujourd'hui. Le Liban n'a pas les moyens de se lancer dans des grands travaux. Si on regarde le budget de l'État libanais, la part réservée aux investissements est tout à fait minime. Et le Liban ne peut pas non plus emprunter aujourd'hui, car toute la communauté internationale, à part la Banque mondiale, ne veut pas prêter au Liban tant qu'il n'aura pas signé un accord avec le FMI. Donc, ça sert à rien de proposer des schémas d'aménagement grandioses avec des grands investissements, des grands travaux, si c'est pour avoir une belle étude sur le papier, mais que de toute façon, on ne pourra pas mettre en œuvre avant de nombreuses années. Donc nous, on a volontairement, on s'est concentré, encore une fois, sur ce qui était prioritaire et sur ce que le port peut financer aujourd'hui, j'allais dire en autofinancement grâce à ses propres ressources. Ça nous paraît important, parce que justement, on ne voulait pas proposer des aménagements qui restent théoriques, et dans 5 ans, on aura la même conférence et on aura les mêmes discussions. Merci.
It was very informative. Now we have to go fast. Yes. So now it's time for our two experts to present their work. Do you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead,
So
please.
first of all, on the behalf of the consortium, Artelia Aegis, has been said, two French consulting engineering companies. We thank you for this welcome in your Beirut port event. I guess that maybe the presentations that we have prepared will be shown by your system. Because so as in the meantime, yes, thank you very much. In the meantime, yes, I will maybe repeat a little bit what François has said, but thank you very much. We indeed we worked a little bit. I disagree with François. We have done a little bit of study, but we have not redone a port master plan. That's for sure. So, but indeed, we prepare and we propose our technical assistance on the request of the Ministry of Works and Transport, and we have done this work and this study last year between March 2023 and finished last March 2024. So it lasts about 12 months. And we intervene on the request of the ministry and provide our expertise, maritime expertise, mainly from Aegis and Artelia. So we apologize, we are not architect, we are more engineer. So let's see how it is going to be. So maybe next slide, maybe. Don't know if I can move. Yes. Yes, as François said, we have been told to have a very pragmatic approach and to target to prepare something which can be preparing some tender documents for the priority works, structural works that can be done in short term based on all the previous and existing studies and taking into account all the port and master plans which have been done even during the last 10 years. So maybe next. So I don't know. Yes, I don't know if. So our study have been structured into 3 main steps: the assessment of the existing situation and assessing all the previous studies. is why, François was saying that we have not done another study, not another port master plan, but we try to assess what has been done up to now, and try to identify through all these studies what were the common denominator corresponding to what is the most common needs for the port, and targeting to have this very pragmatic and operational approach. We target with the ministry, with GEPB, the port of Beirut, and with different ministries also to target, what has to be done in a short term. So that's for sure that we have done several visits, I think about 5 visits on site, and we have done some assessments. That was the first step. The second is try to identify with the ministry, with like a process of iterative steps, what could be seen as a priority structural works that could be, financed by the port itself. So that's why, is to try to identify these structural works without blocking or preventing of any further development, any long-term development. And then, based on what has been identified, we have prepared what we call the tender documents, all the technical part for the tender documents, in order to have all the documents ready to be launched for the structural works. So if we move, next slide. So this has been said, that's a high-level map, so that the study started, yes, in May 2023 and has been finished last March. So we have completed this study, and yes, and we have submitted these tender documents, the technical part, the specification, to the Ministry of Works and Transport, as well as the Port of Beirut. So next slide, if we may. So that's exactly also that's the Port of Beirut that you know even better than me. And what was the main idea that has been given to us at the beginning of the study is, yes, to keep in mind that the port shall be kept as an economic tool for the country, and also to focus only on the non-containerized area. So this area that you have here in within the orange zone, not the container terminal, not the basin one, but the other one, including the part who has been damaged further, the blast in August 2020. Next slide. So based on this aspect, and as we said, we try to identify through all the existing studies and port master plan. François has enumerated a few of them, but for record, we assess about 17 studies made during the last 10 years. Okay, and we tried to find what was the common denominator, and then present that as maybe what is the real need for a pragmatic approach, but also we try to not to prevent for any further long-term development. So is why, as François mentioned, we consider that there was this area, this damaged area, further the explosion, the blast, as an area not immediately usable, meaning that we didn't, consider this area in the sense that we didn't project anything. and we take that as maybe more a buffer, something can be decided later on. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, I think we end up with what was called a preferential or conversion option, because as said, it was an iterative process with the port, with the Ministry of Works, the different discussion to identify what should be done. So you have here a map showing in color what was decided is mainly to keep for this reorganization of the port. Reorganization in short term is then, yes, to maintain the container terminal at its current location at the east of the port, is to maintain the general cargo area around the mall 3. The mall 3 is the one is shown here by the black arrow, and to also maintain what is called the bulk and the grain activity on mall 2, which is the mall at the center of the port, with a relocation of new silo, and to keep on mall 1 an area for all the passenger traffic, and then the army on basin 1. With this objective is also, and we will explain that with the arrangement on the mainland, is to really have in mind that what needs to be rearranged is in order to improve the operability and efficiency of the port, which has been said that can be improved. And for that, main point is to try to separate all the traffics, all the different traffics of activity. And then is why, the idea is to have all the passenger traffic on mall 1, which is on the green in the map on mall 1, at the west, to have the bulk and the grain cereal on mall 2, okay? And general cargo, all this big area in yellow, with also a rearrangement of the hinterland of all the area on the land is what you have also with new roads, internal road within the port boundary, to have a new road to better separate the traffic and to also avoid all the congestions that we can and traffic jams that we can see within the port. And also to take the opportunity to maybe have for the infrastructure and the quays who has been destroyed, to maybe try to modernize this quay and to deeper this quay if possible. So next slide, maybe. So on this main rearrangement, reorganization, we try to identify what could be the priority, the priority works, what should be done in a first step, and is what you have here in color, in yellow and brown. 2, 3 works packaging can be seen as priority structural works, marine works and landside works, with a new key. This key indicated in yellow, which will be a new key to be built in front of the existing, the former one. The one has been destroyed. The key 9, that is in basin 3. If I show you, it's on this main key. This new key will be built first in front of the former one, about 20 meters in front, in order to take the advantage maybe to be deeper and to extend the key 8, which is the one at the north of the mall 2, and also to allow to have maybe a double berth at the junction with key 10, where it is destroyed at the moment, in order to accommodate eventually a 2 vessel. And that will be the new marine works. And in terms of landside works, is maybe all the part in brown with the new internal road that you can see with the new roundabout, and something which is further from the key 10, in order to leave some large space and storage area, in order to better structure the different area of the terminal and of this rural terminal. This idea is also to improve the traffic within the port, and for that is to create some new gates, but I think Sylvain will present that later on in more detail. So that's maybe that is the priority structural works. Next slide, if possible. Yes. This will be a priority of structural work, and it can be also with this new large storage area, which is to have the possibility, as explained also, to have for this rural terminal, to have also some roof car park for this rural terminal, and with solar panels is what you can see here in purple. To have the possibility also to have some electricity and energy, and to allow the possibility to have this transition to the mixed energy for the port of Beirut, because we identify that, yes, is also an important point, energy, which is an important point for any port in the world at the moment, but especially for Beirut. So it was also another key factor for maybe how to redevelop and redeploy this part of the port of Beirut. Next slide, maybe. And yes, maybe then further, maybe maybe on midterm, not necessarily the short, because it's not seen as a priority. The further structural works will be, yes, the redevelopment of the passenger terminal, here identified in green, on Mall 1, to have a possibility to rebuild maybe a passenger terminal with a view on Mall 2. Next slide. But because there is always a but prior to that, and even we identify some priority structural works. An early step to all of that, an important step, is to launch all and to have all these enabling and early works, as we call them, to be completed before starting any redeployment. And these enabling or early works are those listed in front of you. Is that, yes, is all the removal works that need to be done for starting in a safe way, all the infrastructure works, removal of debris, of wrecks, of metallic, of strap, and also shipwrecks. So I'm very pleased to have heard before that maybe today was the first day of maybe this removal. So that's maybe the beginning of a long process, but it is a good sign. But yes, it's what we identify is to have all these enabling works to be done first, along with for sure environmental study in order to secure all these works. And for all these new infrastructure works, as they should be done in a proper way, complementary investigation should be done with geotechnical investigation and topobathymetric survey, assessment and inspection of all the networks, because with all the debris on site, there are things who have not been able to be assessed in a proper way, like also underwater to assess and to make some diagnosis of structural diagnosis of the port infrastructure before starting any infrastructure works. And all these enabling early works, we have already prepared some technical specification, some tender documents. They have been submitted to the Ministry of Works and Transport and the port. So they have in their hands some elements that they can, step by step, launch all this investigation, which shall be launched before the infrastructure works. Next slide also. So for all these infrastructure works, we have done some very preliminary design in terms of engineering design, and we have set up a basis of design, and we have realized a preliminary design for the marine works and for the landside works. And we have prepared also along with the technical specification, as just said. If we move next slide. Yes, that's the detail of the campaign and the surveys that we advise to do before launching any structural works. As it says, that's some figures and specification of what we send to the ministry and the port. Underwater geotechnical investigation, underwater survey. Next slide also. Thank you. Here is just is maybe more port infrastructure. As I mentioned before, it was decided not to look at this damaged area. So, and also it was considered that it could be of a good opportunity to move the quay a little bit in front and to rebuild a new quay in order to also deepen the quay in order to be able to have a quay which can accommodate some bigger vessels. So it's to try to modernize the quay. And also to have maybe a double berth for the junction between Quay 9 and Quay 10 to enable improving the traffic of ro-ro vessel, for which Beirut is seen as quite a very favorable port for developing the ro-ro traffic. So different concept of quay have been drawn, and different view has been cross-checked with the port and ending up with the view that you have on the left. Next slide. Then for the quay infrastructure, the idea is to do a design as per what is existing, is a gravity quay block, concrete block, founded on a hard substratum. So that's how the quays of Beirut, of the port of Beirut, have been built, except for the container terminal, which is much deeper. So that's how the design is envisaged at this stage. And if we go to the next slide, please, yes, we can see that, yes, for the moment, the future works, the priority works are envisaged is in two packages, the marine works and the landside works, even both are connected, because marine works will be more what you can see here on the cross section of the quay in green, with a limit indicated in red between the marine works and the landside works, which are shown here in orange. These two packages can be maybe put in one single packages or not. But anyway, but for the landside packages, I will leave Sylvain to explain in further detail. And this is where, the red line is crossing.
Yes, red line. So yes, just to clarify, Artelia was in charge of the marine works and Aegis was in charge of the landside works. So this slide really illustrates where we interfaced. So as Ozan says, the works of the quay will not only be the quay, but also the pavement and the networks that will have to be built along the quay number 9 to create these new berth strips where the activities can be accommodated for loading and unloading the vessels that will be on the new quay number 9. So if you go to next slide. Here we have the extension of the landside works. So, and mostly the work packages. So as Ozan was saying, we have identified 3 main work packages. First one was about the quay that she described just before. The other one is related to the yards. So the yard behind the quay number 9 and the main multi-purpose yard, which is in the big part in yellow, which is in the center of the image. Backwards the quay number 10 and the mall number 2. And the other package that we have identified and elaborated is the gate number 9 in blue, which purpose is to create a new access to the port at the center of the port, which will be dedicated to the multi-purpose cargo, meaning not the containers. And the containers will remain mostly on the east. Where the multi-purpose cargo, the general cargo, the bulk, etc., and the cars would enter and exit the port at the center, in this new gate area where it will be controlled, giving more balance to the traffics between the west and the center of the port. Again, as for the quay, the work packages for these landside activities could be made together, the gate and the yards, or separated. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is as for the marine part. We also need to have to perform some investigations on the site, topographical survey plus inspection of the pavement, etc. At this moment, it's not always possible due to the debris which are on the yards. We are happy to learn that the debris are starting to be removed so that the survey can start and that we can have a full view and a full picture of the conditions of the pavement, of the topographical elevation, and the condition of the networks. So these in blue are the areas where we have requested to have, where we recommend the port to perform a full topographical survey. This includes the slopes, which are just adjacent to the motorway, where the gate number 9 will be built. Okay, go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a detail, maybe I will go fast, the detail of the survey that we recommend to perform on the existing yards to assess the conditions of the pavement and to have knowledge of the geotechnical conditions which will condition the type of works that will be performed, namely for the slopes at the gate. Next slide. Okay, so this is now a description of the landside works. So here this slide is showing the pavement works that will be done. So on the top of the page, along the keywords, there will be concrete pavement, just because on the keywords we have also raised a lot of movements of cargo, etc. So it's important to have a concrete pavement to avoid the damages due to the loads of the cargo, which is coming from the ships and to the ships, and also which will be operated with heavy equipment. We also have a concrete pavement in the gates where the trucks there will be a lot of stop and goes of the trucks. So it's important to be able to have a resistant pavement, able to collect all the brake, all the fluids coming from the trucks which are stopping and going. The rest of the pavement will be asphalt pavement, and on that part, it will be important to really know the conditions of the existing pavement to confirm the proportion of pavement which has to be replaced and the proportion of pavement which can be reused, because it's of course not necessary to repave everything, to repave the full structure of pavement on all the areas. Only focus on the areas where the damages are important and that the deep foundation of the pavement must be replaced. Otherwise, it will be a superficial pavement. Can go next slide. Okay, likewise, this is the water network, the drainage. It's quite important in a port to have a good drainage of the water, for the rainwater. Again, here we are trying to use as much as possible all the networks which are existing in the port. The chance is that the yards were existing before, so the the rainwater was already collected and routed to the sea. So likewise, the inspection of the existing networks will be really helpful to understand which sections can be reused for the future. Otherwise, some replacement will have to be done. And on the smaller part, the collectors will have to be rebuilt to be adapted to the new layout of the roads and the yards. So just if we can stay a little bit on these slides, it's important to see that the road, which is around the yards, as Ozan was explaining, has now been shifted off as far as possible from the keywords, so that to create extensive areas where the flows of cargoes can be operated from the quay to the road without crossing any traffic. So now the road is quite close to the berths. So when the cargo has to come from the quay to the south of the port, it has to cross with the connecting roads. And this can be dangerous because we have port machinery crossing with normal vehicles, which is a reason for incidents. So the fact to move these roads to the south really creates some wide operational spaces, which can be operated by special machinery without conflicting with the rest of the traffic on the port. We can also at the south of this road, there will be the area is reserved for the warehouses. So for all the cargo which need to be covered, this area will be dedicated to the warehouses for covered storage. And at south of the warehouses, you can see the gates. So the gates is really the place where all the cargoes and vehicles are controlled, either when they are going into the port, because of course the customs, the national security, the police must control the cargoes, whether the documents are okay, whether they are able to enter the port and to go out of the country. And likewise, when the cargo enters the port, it has to be deeply controlled by the port authorities and the customs and police and security to make sure that it is able to enter the country. So this gate will have 4 lanes in each direction. It will be together with the weight bridges to have a full control of the vehicles and the cargo. And there will be some places for the trucks to queue before if they arrive before the opening of the gate, they will have some space to park before opening. I think we can move to the next slide. Okay, next slide is another detail about the water networks. So water networks, there are 2 purposes. One is to provide some potable water to the buildings. So we don't have many buildings in this area. It's mostly the warehouses and the offices of the Roro terminal. The main needs will be probably to provide a consistent firefighting network to be able to fight any fire either on the yards or along the belts. So likewise here, if the existing system is still valid, the priority will be to reuse the existing pipes. If it's too old or has been damaged, then it will have to be replaced by a new system to provide a consistent firefighting system to the port. We can go to the next slide. So this is about power supply. So of course, this new area must receive the power. The main needs, basically, as it is a Roro yard, so it's like a storage of vehicles. There is no big machinery, but we take the opportunity to update the power supply system to foresee some needs of electrical equipment on the quay. So the system that we have designed allows to put some electric cranes on the quays, which will be used to unload the ships on quay 9 and quay 10. The other needs, of course, are the lighting of the ports, the portyard, the power supplies to the warehouses, and the power supply to the gates, which of course need always to be supplied with power and telecom. I think we can go to the next slide. Okay, this is a zoom on the Roro terminal. So Roro terminal is basically the place where the port will store the cars, the trucks, the construction machinery, everything which is imported by specific boats, which are rolling. It's not with container, it's just rolling from the boats to the yard. So this area will be fully repaved. Now it's a very extensive area, so the traffics can be the traffics which are expected will be fully handled in this area, which is on one side close to the ramps, the Roro ramps in the blue arrow. So that's where all the vehicles will come from. And on the other side, it's connected to the gate number 9 with direct connection, which will very facilitate the flows from the vessel to the storage and then to the country. So I've mentioned this area is also an opportunity to create some photovoltaic panels to provide some power support. So it's foreseen that 6 hectares of the area should be covered with photovoltaic panels. It's fully compatible with the storage of cars. So the cars will be stored below the panels. And the panels will provide some energy to the port, which is really important, as Ozan was mentioning. The area in yellow will not be covered with solar panel because, of course, we need some spaces where there is no limitation of clearance, so that we can have some bigger trucks or bigger machinery coming from the boats. Next slide. Okay, so based on this, so as for the marine works, we have developed 2 tender packages. And basically for marine works and landside works, we have developed 2 tender packages, which are based on the FIDIC design and build contract, so which allows an alternative design by the contractor. So they will have enhanced the preliminary design, they will have enhanced all the data about the site, all the results about the survey that will have been performed, geotechnical, topographical, etc. And based on that, they will be able to finalize their design and tender for design and construction. So we have provided the technical parts of the tender documents, so particular general conditions and requirements, and the bill of quantities, so that it can be launched to the possible candidates for construction. We can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the roadmap. Basically, okay, this calendar was made for the month of March, which is still more valid. The first part really, of course, is to perform the enabling work. So we are happy to hear that it has started with the removal of debris. Removing the debris will allow the site survey to be performed, namely onshore, because the space will be freed, so the machinery can go there to collect the data. And in the meantime, while the enabling works are being performed, which is mostly year 2024, it gives the occasion to finalize the tender documents and to launch the tender documents to the contractors, which is the first part of the chart in blue. And then we estimate that after this, meaning after the enabling works completed, after the tender documents issued to contractors and procurement process completed, after the contract is signed with the contractors, we estimate that the marine works will last about 2.5 years until the final completion of key number 9 and then the row rounds, while the landside works will last about 2 years, which is the conversion of the yard number 9 and the creation of gate number 9. In the meantime, there could be some processes of defining a way to proceed with private operators to give them an operational contract to operate the whole terminal which will be created. And I think it's the last slide. So thank you for your attention, and we will be very glad to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Madame Perrault and Monsieur Bourgois, for this detailed, informative, and very comprehensive presentation. And I would really appreciate if you could stay a few minutes more with us. So, okay, no, because you have to hear the discussion. 3 panelists will ask you questions about, and I hope in the audience we have engineers also could contribute to this rich discussion about technical issues. Well, okay. I would like to extend also my thanks to the BUL and IFI for having me as a moderator for this session. And I would introduce now the 3 panelists to engage the experts in details of questions. So I will start by Hala Younis, is an architect and geographer and member of ACA, Arab Center for Architecture. She taught at the School of Architecture of Marne-la-Vallée in Paris and at several universities in Lebanon. She, in addition to teaching and professional practice, she is also committed to producing and disseminating knowledge and awareness tools regarding new urban realities. In 2018, she initiated the first Lebanese National Pavilion at the Venice Architecture Biennale, and in 2022, she curated the event Beirut in Ville alors. Jad Thabit is the past president of Lebanese Federation of Engineers and Architects and of the Organization of Arab Architects, and former member of UNESCO World Heritage Committee between 2001 2006, 5, and from 2013 2017, and he is an honorary president of ICOMOS Lebanon. He's an architect and planner, and he works between Beirut and Paris. His distinguished practice in the field has earned him numerous awards, notably the Medal of the French Académie d'Architecture and the National Council of French Architects in 2014, and the Distinguished Alumni Award delivered by the FEA at American University in 2003. He has authored several publications in Arabic, French, and English on war reconstruction, as well as on the relationships between modernity and heritage. Ali Aboud is an economist with research interest in labor economics, inequality, and demography. He joined the Department of Economics at the American University of Beirut in 2022. He is also a university fellow at the Islam Affairs Institute for Public Policy and International Affairs. Ali was an early career fellow with the Arab Council for Social Sciences and a postdoctoral researcher at the Ohio State University. So before we begin our Q&A session, please, I beg you to note the following 2 points. The session will last 2 hours, and now we are left with 1 hour. Our experts on Zoom will leave at 6:30, so we have to use time very diligently and wisely. And the second point is that it is crucial to frame our discussions conceptually, at least on 2 levels. The context level in which these discussions are occurring and the proposal itself. So on the context, the least we can say that our country is highly polarized, fragmented along sectarian, social, and economic lines. Second point, trust in institutions has eroded, and there is a loss of faith in a shared sense of meaning and clarity about our future. Third, the devastating port blast in Beirut further exacerbated these challenges. We feel we are victims looking for justice and memorial to heal our souls and wounds. And four, the port symbolizes unity and pride historically, but also highlights governance failures. In this context, we can witness 2 dynamics which are at play. One, the civil society perspective. Civil society groups advocate for change and view Beirut and the neighborhood and its neighborhood and territories as a bastion of national unity, and thus as a test bed for any future governance model at the national level. They prioritize diversity, inclusion, social justice, and public spaces in urban policies and planning. For them, for this group, for the civil society groups, the reconstruction of Port Beirut is part of this inclusive realm and represents their best hope to reclaim Beirut as a symbol for common good and inclusive governance. And on the other hand, we have the sectarian and special interest perspective. Sectarian partisanship and special interest groups see Beirut as a space for commodities and ideological territories and a playground for identity politics. They consider the port of Beirut a financial asset to be exploited, and they view its reconstruction like shares negotiation process or business as usual. So hence the general question, and considering Munhar's principles of process, values, and city-port relations, which should govern any approach for the reconstruction of the port, where does the proposal position itself among these 2 main dynamics? To what extent can rational technical proposal assert neutrality within this context? On the level of the proposal as such, multiple perspectives emerge. The first perspective views it as a policy instrument, an intricate assemblage of interconnected components and parts designed to service specific objectives. These components involve ideas, practices, as well as geographies, institutions, public and private actors, laws, regulations, and governance systems. One tendency perceives this assemblage as a mere aggregation of individual parts, like we saw: basins, quays, malls, silos, rural areas, free zones, administration zones, borderlines, and adjacent areas. Each part is shaped by and shapes its capacities and interactions in relation with others. The second perspective considers individual components not as isolated entities or autonomous entities, but as products of the whole. However, to assess any policy's impact over time, such this one, we must understand the emergent and irreducible properties of the entire system. These properties do effectively arise from contingent interactions among the components parts. Importantly, these emergent properties would differ if the arrangement of components were altered. We've seen one ordering, one agency of the parts could emergence of something different be if the ordering is different? That's the question. Thus, a critical question also arises: how has the proposal accounted for the ordering and agency of its components? And what expected impacts does it anticipate across economic, social, and political dimensions? Could alternative arrangement, assemblages, yield different emergencies? Furthermore, assemblages like this one involve political imaginations, rationalities, technologies, infrastructures, and agents. The proposal must induce governance models that navigate this diversity and complexity, fostering coherence and shared purpose. What could be this type of model? I will stop here because I have other questions, but I will have to leave to make room for other questions too. So I invite the panelists now. I will start by Jad Tabit. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Léon. Merci pour votre présentation. J'aurais pu faire les commentaires en français, mais comme tout est en anglais, donc I will comment in English. Okay, as we understand from your presentation, the main objective of the project would be to provide a pragmatic, realistic approach for the regeneration of the port of Beirut that stresses on short-term priorities which could be executed considering the limited financial capacities of Lebanese state, and to propose a general scheme for the reorganization of port activities that would not compromise long-term developments. This approach seems to be based on two main choices. Choice number one, to rebuild the silos on mole number 2 at the epicenter of the blast and redevelop this mole as a serial terminal. And choice number 2, to keep most of the port area as a secluded reserved territory for port commercial services, with the exception of the military base in the first basin and the future passenger terminal that could be created later on. We regret that your full report was not rendered public to allow all of us to understand the rationale behind these choices. Hence, allow me to raise some questions in order to render things clearer for us and for the public. Let me first question the rationale behind your choice to rebuild the silos and the grain terminal at the epicenter of the blast on mole number 2 and basin number 3. You say in your report, and we can agree with that rebuilding the silos and the grain terminal is a priority for the food security of Lebanon. However, the proposed location looks quite illogical, since the area cannot be used for the time being because of the legal case is still going on, because although the infrastructural works require first the removal of debris and shipwrecks, extensive geotechnical investigation, underwater survey and diagnosis of damaged structure, and then the construction of the new case. Such process is likely to take considerable time, while the rebuilding of silos and grain terminal, as you say, is a priority for Lebanese food security. You indicate in your roadmap that infrastructure works will not be completed at best before mid-2027, which, knowing the Lebanese administration, will require at least 2 more years. Moreover, the solution is very expensive, since the reconstruction of K number 9, demolished by the blast, will cost alone around $6 million, as is indicated in your report, which represents 70% of the total cost of infrastructure works as shown in your report. It will also be environmentally harmful, since it would require around 380,000 to 400,000 square meters of backfill, while environmental issues are becoming a priority in Lebanon today, but also all over the world. How can you justify to embark into such a complicated, lengthy, expensive, and environmentally harmful choice and consider it as a priority, while the World Bank recommended to provide space for the silos and the grain terminal further to the east on mall number 3, which could be immediately available, does not require the construction of new quays, and offers, in the same time, the advantage of being closer to containers terminal and concentrates the major commercial activities in the same area. Wouldn't it be more practical and more pragmatic? Shouldn't we spare our money for more productive investments? Mr. Spurrer said that, il a justement rappelé que le Liban a des moyens financiers limités. So why to put the money there as a priority? This would be my first question. Another issue relates to the space allocation of various port functions. The traffic forecasts that were presented to us by the World Bank earlier this week show that all port commercial operations, i.e. grain terminal, RoRo, and general cargo, could be concentrated in the eastern part of the ports on basins 3 and 4 near the containers terminal, which would free space for other types of activities related to port city integration in continuity with Beirut Central District and Gemaizeh neighborhood. Instead, your proposal is to keep most of the port territory as a secluded area, closed vis-à-vis the city, which leads to an unnecessary inflation of areas devoted to port commercial activities. As an example, the World Bank devoted an area of 12.5 hectares only for both general cargo and RoRo. Asked about this space allocation, the World Bank team answered that it was based on forecast assumptions that are voluntarily exaggerated in order to show that there is plenty of space in the dedicated 12.5 area to cope with any dramatic rise of traffic volume in the future, and that you can devote the remaining space to port city integration. It seems that you took these assumptions as actual figures, and you even inflated them, considering them as a basis for priority investments. For example, you propose to build a RoRo terminal for 140,000 cars per year on an area of 11 hectares, while the highest RoRo traffic in the whole history of Beirut port never exceeded 41,000 cars in 2016. 41,000 cars in 2016, And you imagine that it could reach 140,000. For people who don't know, RORO is an abbreviation of roll on, roll off. It designates the process of loading and unloading vehicles on specialized vessels called RORO ships. You do so knowing that the infrastructures in the country are totally saturated, that the only feasible and environmentally compatible solution is to develop public transportation instead of increasing the number of cars. It is difficult to understand why did you adopt this figure? Why did you consider the construction of such a huge RORO car park as a priority? Similarly, you dedicated 5 to 6 berths and another 12 hectares to the general cargo. While the maximum traffic volume, according to the World Bank, does not require more than 2 berths. You end up with an area of approximately 24 hectares for RORO and general cargo, while the World Bank considered that 12.5 hectares would be more than sufficient. Do we have to put all this money now for such inflated areas? All this gives the impression that the rationale behind your approach is to try to restore the port area as it was before the blast, trying to improve as much as possible the previous scheme without questioning neither the unnecessary inflation in space allocation nor the relevance of the previous model, and you didn't envision what could be the possibility of leaving space for future role of the port in a changing regional environment. In doing so, no, I haven't, no, please, I'm not, no, please. I am not doing, I'm doing a scientific analysis. I'm not doing big shi'arat. Okay. In doing so, you are freezing almost the whole space allocation for port traditional commercial activities, instead of opening the possibility for a new innovative approach that would try to build up in the future another model more open to contemporary issues, a sustainable, environmentally compatible port open to the city that forms an integral part of the urban ecosystem in line with the transformations that were implemented in ports like Marseille, you know Marseille, Barcelona, or Genoa, for example. You prepared your study in consultation with the Port Authority and the Minister of Public Works. And the preferred option you presented to us was developed based on this consultation. But the recovery, reconstruction, and development of the port of Beirut is a major public issue that concerns all Lebanese people. The port has been the birthplace of modern Beirut, when in the first decades of the 19th century, a small coastal Medina became the main hub between Europe and the Middle Eastern hinterland. The future of this port cannot be decided behind closed doors, and the main decisions cannot be taken neither by a minister that has resigned and whose sole legal power is to manage current affairs. This is the law. This is not what I'm saying. This is the Lebanese law. Nor by a temporary committee that has no legal basis since 1990 and continues to manage the port without any coherent governance system. The future of our port should be defined following a large public discussion on how we can build back better and how the reconstruction of the port can contribute in enhancing our life, our environment, our economy. Instead, you prepared the tender documents without any public consultation. Finally, if you had been able to engage in a public consultation process, as is the case according to French law, or even according to the Lebanese law on heritage impact assessment, you would have discovered that the overwhelming majority of professionals and civil society organizations have three major concerns. These concerns were enumerated by different people. I will try to summarize them. Concern number one, preserving the entire blast area in Mole 2, including the remaining part of the silos and the crater in Basin 3, as a sanctuarized area, accessible to the public, similar to the Jambaku Memorial Park in Hiroshima, which was inscribed on UNESCO World Heritage List in 1996. And not what you try to sell us, a small leftover space wedged between the new silos and the car park, which future is unpredictable, and which will receive a so-called commemorative monument only accessible to the seagulls. One cannot forget the collective trauma caused by one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history of the site. And the site of the blast should be preserved as a silent witness of a crime that caused more than 200 dead, thousands of wounded, and 300,000 people homeless. The civil society's demand to preserve the site of the blast as a site of memory, open to the public, was supported by numerous international organizations, including UNESCO advisory bodies, International ICOMOS and ICROM, as well as the World Monetary Fund, and cannot be ignored by a decision taken behind closed doors. Number two, the concern number two, finding opportunities for city-port integration in order to reconnect the city with the sea and develop a sustainable green strategy for port development based on the recommendation of the World Network of Port Cities, which you know obviously very well, but which you decided not to take into consideration in your study. Concern number three, the prerequisite for any recovery and development project lies in a reform that would put an end to the legal vacuum persisting since the 90s, with a port authority appointed on a temporary basis and a patchwork of ad hoc structures related to various political parties, which end up with inefficient management, poor governance, and lack of transparency and accountability. To conclude, we cannot but regret that you have put all your efforts in trying to provide technical answers to choices that you didn't take, but that are highly questionable, and which would perpetuate a situation of inefficient governance, non-performing management system, and waste of money in a disputable priorities. Let's say things as they are. The Lebanese Council of Ministers asked the World Bank to do a study. The World Bank did a study. It was not accepted globally by the minister and by the Port Authority. So you were brought just to draw the decisions taken by the minister and the Port Authority. Finally, allow me to say something to all of you, and mainly to the young people here. From my personal experience, I belong to a generation that criticized those who came before us, architects, engineers, planners, who responded to the demands of decision makers without questioning the pertinence of these demands, which ended up everywhere with social problems, environmentally harmful solutions. In our contemporary world, marked with complexity and uncertainties, we as professionals, you as professionals, cannot hide behind technical solutions to escape our and your professional and moral responsibilities. Thank you.
Je veux bien, enfin vous m'entendez Sylvain Ozone, je veux bien que vous répondiez, mais les questions qui ont été posées étaient moins techniques, il me semble, que d'opportunités politiques. Donc c'est comme vous voulez. Il y avait beaucoup de questions, parce que la question était longue. Peut-être la question la plus technique, puis après je viendrai aux questions plus générales. Je vais... Alors, je vais d'abord répondre à la question du silo. La question du silo, c'est une question qui est évidemment pertinente et justifiée. C'est un débat qu'on a eu. Il y a les experts, donc Ozan et Sylvain derrière moi, ont fait plusieurs propositions, y compris une proposition qui était comparable à celle de la Banque mondiale sur le MOL 3. Il y a eu plusieurs discussions. Je rappelle que nous faisons, je l'ai dit, c'est un processus itératif et les autorités ont retenu, ont préféré l'option de mettre les silos sur le MOL 2. Sur la répartition des surfaces. Je rappelle que nous, on n'avait pas l'ambition, et j'y reviendrai après, on n'avait pas l'ambition de proposer ce que sera le port de Beyrouth dans 10 ans. Ce qui est proposé là aujourd'hui, et vous l'avez vu notamment, vous avez mentionné la question du RoRo, et c'est vrai qu'on peut se demander pourquoi on est parti sur l'hypothèse de 120 000 véhicules en 2040, alors qu'on a atteint un pic d'un peu plus de 40 000. La surface du RoRo, typiquement, la surface de parking, c'est une surface qui peut être réaménagée très facilement. Donc, on a fait un minimum d'infrastructures. La seule zone, finalement, qui est un petit peu... comment dirais-je, sur laquelle on prend un engagement, c'est la surface sur laquelle on mettrait des ombrières, une canopée, parce qu'on l'utilise, parce que c'était une des autres priorités, on l'utilise pour mettre des panneaux solaires, pour réduire la consommation de diesel du port. Et ce faisant, on arrivait de mémoire, je crois, à 60% de l'approvisionnement énergétique, si ce n'est pas plus, en énergie solaire pour les besoins du port. Mais rien n'est figé. On part de l'air, encore une fois, on remet, et vous l'avez dit, et c'était le parti pris, on remet en marche le port tel qu'il existait. On ne dit pas que le port doit être organisé de telle ou telle manière. Et il y a, de ce point de vue-là, une différence fondamentale entre les travaux qui avaient été qui ont été conduits par la Banque mondiale et ce qui a été fait par les experts français. Il ne faut pas les voir en concurrence. C'est des travaux qui sont complémentaires, qui n'ont pas le même objectif, qui n'ont pas le même horizon de temps. Ce qui a été fait par les experts français à la demande du ministre et du port de Beyrouth, c'est un travail très modeste qui consiste à dire voilà les travaux que vous devriez faire rapidement, tout de suite, si vous voulez que le port fonctionne à nouveau à plein régime. Aujourd'hui, le port ne fonctionne pas. Non, ça ne fonctionne pas. Non, ça ne fonctionne pas puisqu'une grande partie de l'activité est due partir à Tripoli. Après, moi j'entends tous vos arguments et on pourrait débattre, mais ce n'est pas mon principe. Vous avez mentionné Hiroshima, Ground Zero, on a reconstruit un immeuble. Chaque pays, à l'issue d'un débat national, choisit une solution. Et à l'issue d'un débat national, nous, on ne tranche pas. Et j'ai pris la peine de vous le dire en introduction, on ne tranche pas. Si après, tant que le débat national n'a pas tranché, on ne doit rien faire sur le port de Beyrouth, ce n'est pas notre parti pris. On nous a demandé de venir faire des études pour que le port se remette à fonctionner. Et non, madame, je suis désolé, sur le Général Cargo, le port ne fonctionne pas comme il fonctionnait autrefois. La preuve, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, Tripoli est saturé parce qu'une grosse partie de l'activité du Général Cargo est partie sur le port de Tripoli. Le container fonctionne parce que la zone container était moins affectée et que quand CMA-CGM est venu, il a en plus investi un peu d'argent à titre privé pour remettre en marche ce qui avait été abîmé par l'explosion. Mais la partie Général Cargo fonctionne très mal aujourd'hui sur le port de Beyrouth. Allez vous promener sur le port de Beyrouth, vous allez voir à quoi il ressemble. Alors, je ne sais pas si on doit s'en satisfaire en disant on attend que le débat soit fini, on attend qu'il y ait une loi portuaire, on attend que le Liban puisse financer les travaux. Ça n'a pas été notre parti pris. Ce n'est pas la demande qui nous a été adressée. Mais encore une fois, les propositions qui ont été faites en toute humilité. On ne vous dit pas que ce qu'on a proposé, c'est ce à quoi ressemblera le port dans 10 ans. On dit voilà ce qu'il faut faire si vous voulez que le port se remette à fonctionner. Je crois que c'était à peu près ce que je voulais dire, enfin, parce que vous avez abordé beaucoup de sujets, mais pour moi, la question philosophique, elle est là. Si j'avais un point aussi sur l'intégration ville-port, c'est évidemment une question, mais pour les raisons que je viens de vous donner, c'est une question Nous, on n'allait pas traiter, on nous a pas demandé de la traiter. On nous a demandé au mieux de ne pas handicaper le traitement futur de l'intégration ville-port, et il me semble que c'est le cas dans les propositions qui sont faites. C'est un débat qui est là aussi extrêmement compliqué. C'est pas en 6 mois ou en 1 an de débat qu'on va le résoudre. Vous avez mentionné Marseille, c'est intéressant parce qu'il y a, je dirais, une communauté de culture, il y a une communauté d'approche, il y a même une similarité dans l'organisation, même dans la taille des villes entre Marseille et Beyrouth. Je vous ai dit qu'il y a même un MOU entre le port de Marseille et le port de Beyrouth. Il y a eu des missions de gens de Marseille qui sont venus à Beyrouth, des gens du port de Beyrouth qui sont allés à Marseille pour voir. J'ai accompagné moi-même en mars, le gouverneur de la ville de Beyrouth à Marseille, parce que lui aussi, il voudrait qu'il y ait une meilleure intégration entre la ville et le port, et il voulait voir comment ça fonctionnait à Marseille. Et c'était vraiment intéressant, parce qu'en arrivant à Marseille, il s'est rendu compte que, contrairement à ce que vous disiez, ça ne fonctionne pas si bien. Il y a des efforts, et c'est peut-être plus avancé qu'à Beyrouth, probablement. Il y a des instances de coordination, de dialogue qui ont été mises en place, mais la municipalité à Marseille est très frustrée parce que le port de Marseille, c'est une entité avec son budget, ses règles, son fonctionnement. C'est, pour l'expression française, on pourrait dire c'est un État dans l'État, mais la municipalité, l'intégration, même à Marseille, où ils en débattent depuis des années, est loin d'être parfaite aujourd'hui. Aujourd'hui, le port de Marseille prend des décisions en autonomie. Donc, ce que je veux dire par là, c'est évidemment qu'on... Si, c'est vrai. Tout ça, ce sont évidemment des sujets importants, je ne les balaye pas d'un revers de la main, mais on ne va pas les trancher en 6 mois ou en 1 an. Donc, est-ce qu'on lève le stylo et on ne fait rien tant qu'on n'a pas décidé de ce qu'on faisait de la zone du blast? On ne fait rien tant qu'on n'a pas un schéma d'intégration ville-port. On ne fait rien tant qu'on n'a pas des financements pour financer, pardon, la répétition, ces schémas d'aménagement. Je ne crois pas. Ou alors on aura la même conférence dans 10 ans et on reparlera de ce qu'il faudrait faire ou pas faire sur le port de Beyrouth.
Un petit commentaire, je comprends bien. S'il te plaît, non, s'il te plaît, parce que, s'il te plaît. Bon, je comprends très bien ce que vous dites, mais il ne s'agit pas de ne pas faire et de dire on attend. Simplement, il s'agit de faire ce qu'il faut faire, c'est-à-dire ce qui est réellement urgent et qui ne coûte pas très cher. Au lieu d'aller faire le quai numéro 9 et de dire on va aller mettre les silos au quai numéro 2, on dit très bien, on a besoin de 12 hectares et demi de Roro et de General Cargo. Ben, on aménage 12 hectares et demi, on n'a pas besoin d'aménager maintenant 24 hectares, on ne sait pas à quoi ça va servir et on ne sait pas quel est l'avenir. On ne vient pas faire le quai numéro 9 et on ne vient pas dire c'est là que vont être les silos, alors que ça conditionne tout l'avenir de cette zone. Quand on fait ça, c'est fini. On sait que ce qui reste, c'est un petit bout de territoire que vous appelez sanctuarisé, qui est en fait un leftover space. Ce que vous êtes en train de faire, je dis encore une fois, ce n'est pas votre décision. Vous l'avez dit, ça a été discuté avec l'autorité portuaire et le ministre. C'est la décision qui a été prise entre 4 murs par l'autorité portuaire et le ministre, et les experts que je salue n'ont fait que prendre le crayon et dessiner ce qu'on leur a demandé de dessiner. C'est ça que je dis, moi. Je dis que ce n'est pas comme ça qu'il faudrait travailler, point. Et au lieu de faire tous ces trucs-là, on fait le minimum. On fait 12 hectares et demi, ça coûte pas très cher, ça permet de laisser l'avenir voir ce qui arrive. C'est tout.
Non, attendez, il y a encore 2 discutants qui doivent poser leurs questions. Allez-y.
Je vais continuer en français puisqu'on est parti là-dessus. Excusez-nous, les anglophones. Ma fille anglophone. La question, enfin, la question qui taraude, François, je fais un peu la médiation, la question qui a rassemblé les gens ici aujourd'hui et qui les intéresse par-dessus tout. Excuse-moi, Jade, ce n'est pas tellement la question de la relation ville-port. Et d'ailleurs, on comprend très bien que ce n'était pas le scope of work de l'équipe qui a travaillé. Ce n'était pas du tout le scope of work de cette mission-là, qui n'est pas exactement comparable à celle de la Banque mondiale. Mais c'est la question de l'avenir du mémorial, de cet espace autour duquel on tourne sans arrêt, et de la manière dont on peut en fait mettre en place les mesures d'urgence sans hypothéquer l'avenir de ce qu'on fera un jour sur cet espace. En fait, c'est ça un peu la principale question. Et je ne sais pas si les experts ont la possibilité de nous répondre, mais moi, j'aimerais beaucoup savoir si, parce que dans tout ce que j'ai vu, la question qui se pose vraiment, c'est est-ce que la réparation du quai numéro 9 est une urgence prioritaire? Est-ce que on peut faire fonctionner le bassin numéro 3 de manière effective et le draguer et l'exploiter sans passer par là? Ce que je voudrais peut-être mettre en lumière, enfin mettre en background pour que vous compreniez un peu la position des gens, c'est que en fait finalement l'autorité du port a fait son travail d'autorité du port et n'a pas réalisé. Elle a fait son travail parce qu'après tout c'est une administration, que l'explosion du port a remis et pour très longtemps le port au centre de la ville, au milieu de la ville. Ce qui s'est passé le 4 août, c'est que le port est venu littéralement à nous et que cette question, on avait l'habitude de vivre avec le port à côté. Personne ne savait ce qui se passait sur le port. Personne ne se souciait de ce qui se passait sur le port. Maintenant, on sait que on avait une bombe à retardement sur le port et l'intérêt de tous les gens aujourd'hui de garder les portes du port ouvertes, et je m'adresse à l'administration plus qu'à toi, François, l'intérêt de garder les portes ouvertes, c'est notre intérêt aussi de savoir que nous sommes en sécurité, parce que les gens ne font plus confiance à l'autorité du port, pas plus qu'aux ministres, parce qu'ils n'ont pas su éviter la catastrophe. Ils ne font pas confiance à l'armée, ils ne savent pas ce que fait l'armée dans le bassin numéro 1, parce que l'armée n'a pas su les protéger. Et donc, en fait, ce qu'il faut restaurer, mais ce n'est pas votre travail, c'est le nôtre. Ce qu'il faut restaurer, c'est notre confiance dans les institutions. Le principal problème, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, il y a une investigation sur la responsabilité de ce qui s'est passé le 20 août qui est arrêtée. Et aujourd'hui, on peut discuter pendant des heures et des heures et des heures de l'avenir du port et du plan le meilleur et le plus économe et le plus rationnel. Mais il y a une chose sur laquelle personne ne peut ne pas être d'accord, c'est que justice doit être rendue, c'est que la justice doit suivre son cours. Et tant que cette question est arrêtée, on ne peut pas avoir vraiment de débat apaisé, on ne peut pas même réfléchir non pas seulement au projet du port, mais on ne peut même pas réfléchir au projet du mémorial. Parce que si on ne sait pas ce qui s'est passé le 4 août, qu'est-ce qu'on va commémorer? De quoi va-t-on se souvenir? Et peut-être qu'est-ce qu'on va oublier? Et c'est ça un peu le problème qui se pose. Donc moi je pense que ce qu'il faudrait, c'est peut-être savoir comment faire pour réparer, parce qu'il faut le faire comme on a fait après l'explosion. Il faut réparer, il faut consolider, il faut remettre en route, il faut faire la sécurité, il faut faire les douanes, il faut faire le general cargo, il faut que tout ça fonctionne. Mais l'horizon, c'est que nous puissions un jour mettre en concurrence les meilleures compagnies au monde pour faire un vrai plan ville-port intégré et trouver les financements, parce que l'État libanais ne les aura jamais, pour faire fonctionner ce port correctement. Donc, je termine un peu juste pour mettre en perspective, en revenant sur Haïfa, donc, puisqu'on en avait parlé hier. Dans cette perspective qui est de la la compétitivité du port de Beyrouth, si Beyrouth devait vraiment faire cette compétitivité, il devrait croître énormément. Et donc, Haïfa est 4 fois plus grand que Beyrouth. Et donc, dans cette équation, le misérable mot numéro 2 ne compte pas tellement. Donc, si on veut vraiment agrandir le port, moi, je pense que l'ordre des priorités peut être réorganisé. Je ne sais pas, je m'avance peut-être. Mais...
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to English. Last time I made a complete conversation in French was like more than 15 years ago, so I'm not gonna do it today. I'm not gonna repeat what my colleague said. I agree with many of the elements, and in a way, I want to just put it into perspective too. Like what I understood from your presentation, which was just reiterated, is that you essentially effectuated the work of a consultant to the ministry. Like this is essentially what you've done. They asked you to provide something, you put a plan on base of what they asked you. Now, I understand that in a world where we have business consultant doing a consultancy for a private firm. The issue here, this is a public good. And what the people are expecting in this general debate is like, we as public, we have the right to understand and we have the right to make a choice. Basically, like what people want to know is like what's the rationale for taking this choice versus the other choice, and then we can open it for a public debate and make a decision about it. Now, in order for this to have conversation to have any meaning, we need to understand what are the costs, what are the advantages, why the insistence of putting the grain silos on wall number 2. Maybe that's the most efficient choice. I'm not sure. In order to know that, we have to see the numbers. We have to know the advantages and disadvantages of certain choices versus others. Unfortunately, that's not at least from the presentation, I couldn't tell that. Now, as Jad said, the report should have been public for everyone to be able to see. And so my first question is about what's the total estimate of cost based on your plan? What are other cost estimates? And how do they compare? Okay. In the short run, in the long run, and how does that open the prospect for future plans for the port? The other question I have, which I keep hearing from the ministry, is this is a plan that we can self-finance. Well, I want to understand that a little bit better. What do you mean by self-finance? How much revenue is the port actually generating? Revenues of the port, not customs. That's because these are different revenues. So before we talk about self-financing, we need to actually understand what that means, understand funds. And in theory, they should be going to the public treasury. And then when we're going to invest them in such a project in the short term, we need to understand if this is the best use of resources. And especially in light that the legal framework of the port is still not clear. Is this port going to remain, is it going to be privatized? Not privatized. If the port is going to be privatized, why should we publicly invest in it right now such big sums? I mean, in a sense, these are my, and the other thing is which is based on the previous conversation we had in the first session is what's the general vision of this port? And this relates back to Hala's last point is is this a port that's just dedicated to importing our needs? And if that's the case, then why don't we go with a faster plan that Jad was talking about? If this is just quick repairs, working with what we have, minimal investment to just satisfy our local needs? Or is it going to be a port that's trying to compete on the eastern shores of the Mediterranean to be a major node in some global network of trade? And so and that obviously require much more wider investigation than the one you've done in the presentation. Thank you.
Mr.
Sporer, would you like to provide answers or the experts? Yes, go ahead.
I think we are always turning on the same idea, and as Ala said, we might continue like this for hours. But again, in our study, and we are not consultant, as you said, because as I said, we didn't arrive in the office of the minister, and he told us, "I want this and this, and please put it down on your paper." We made different proposals, and it was an iterative process with pros and cons on each option. And in the end, yes, I mean, in the end, this is a political decision. I mean, you have a minister and a port authority, they have to decide. It's normal. This is why I said this is not a French project, this is a Lebanese project. But we have a representative from the port authority, so he will probably be able to speak. But then again, what we have suggested, I take your point regarding K number 9. I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert. Maybe Philippe will be able to tell us. But everything that you're saying are true and how can I say, genuine question you have to address. Our position is that while you address this question, while you have this national debate, in the same time, there are a minimum of works that have to be done on the port. I mean, you cannot go on with a port which is still in the state of which is it now. I mean, it's you cannot afford that economically. You cannot afford them in terms of reputation. I mean, if you tell me no, we don't do anything till we don't have make our decision regarding the integration with the city. Once we haven't made any decision regarding what kind of memorial and so on. Okay, but I think it would be a very bad decision to take. I don't know if Philippe can intervene, but it would be interesting because I answer as the French embassy, but you understand, I mean, most of the question you address should be answered by the Lebanese authorities, not by me.
You should, sir.
Hello. Yes, my name is Philippe Fayad. I am on the board of director of the Port of Beirut. I'm probably the missing link here in this conference because you're all talking about the port and you don't hear the port point of view. So I'm glad to be part of this. I thank you. I think you all raised very good points. And we, at the board, we keep on thinking about these projects, of these problems, the problematic after the 4th of August explosion, the future of the port, the vision, what are the priorities that we want to have for the port, what is the vision that we want for the port? Do we really want a port like Haifa that will put so many trucks on the roads and the only exit is on the route of on the main route to Damascus? These are things that we keep on thinking about, and these are problems that it's part of our daily discussion, weekly discussions. So you all raised excellent points. Now, Hala, I have a lot of things that maybe in your introduction that are not very correct. I'm not going to go into that. Ali, I think, no, it's too long. Then we will need to make a special thing for that. Ali, I think the questions you raised are very good in terms of availability of financing. What are the priorities that we want for the port? These are all very good. Mr. Tabit, I have a lot of respect for you, but you have been listening too much to the World Bank. The World Bank, we have worked very closely with the World Bank. We have we have worked very closely with the French Expertise France, with the experts here present. And I know the various details, and a lot of decisions that were taken in full consciousness of what is the best to the port. I'm not an employee of the government. I have my own practice. I have my own job. I have my own company. So I'm here as I consider myself as as part of the general public, with the interest that I hear, that I feel that I am. It's my city. It's the issues that you raise are also our issues also, And we're here to voice and to be here to support that, to hear what you're saying. But at the same time, I have the other hat, which is the interest of the port.
Thank you.
So I'm asked by the government to support the interest of the port.
Thank you.
Is that all? No, I want to address, I want to answer your questions.
One thing, I didn't hear too much the World Bank. The only thing is that the only report that was rendered public is that of the World Bank. And in this report, you have forecasts, you have figures, etc. I don't know on which figures you build your scenario. I don't know on which figures the French team built its scenario. The only figures we have are those of the World Bank. That's all.
But
So please, Mona Halla. Okay. 10 minutes.
Let's not waste. Okay. I have a very technical question based on your technical scope of work. You said in your timeline, in trimester 1, you did already done, 2024, you did consultations for debris removal and environmental studies and permits trimester 2, which is already done, 3 and 4. So since I was very involved in the debris removal, the debris in the port is the most asbestos contaminated one in Beirut. The ones we removed from Karantina and Jemaizi was mildly contaminated, and we were stopped from moving it until today by the World Bank and by United Nations, by the UNDP. You both, your experts were very proud that today you already started the debris removal. May I know where is this debris going? Sorry? They are contaminated. Even we were not allowed by the World Bank and by UNDP to remove a plastic chair from the debris of Jemaizi because it is asbestos contaminated, and the silos of the port are all made of asbestos. So everything in the port is asbestos contaminated. How come we have to build decontamination units, basins with filters? We have to get a consultant from Canada for $56,000 to make tests and send them to France, and you can start your debris removal. We have to make an environmental assessment, impact assessment, and you have to make a public hearing before you start doing anything. So please, I just want to know, as a citizen, where are you taking the debris that's asbestos contaminated today? Thank you.
Je suis Cécile Rocos, je suis la sœur de Joseph Rocos, une victime de l'explosion du port de Beyrouth. Je suis avocate, je suis pas architecte ni ingénieur, mais ce qui m'intéresse maintenant, ce sont les silos. Je suis d'accord avec Monsieur Jean Tebet. Il représente nos demandes. Merci beaucoup. Et Madame Hala, je vais vous dire, Monsieur François, que les silos, on demande des choses. L'explosion du port de Beyrouth, c'était un désastre. Ce qu'on voit maintenant à Gaza, c'est ce qu'on a vu au port de Beyrouth durant l'explosion. L'explosion est décrite la plus grande non-nucléaire explosion de l'histoire. Elle a causé la mort de plusieurs personnes, 240 morts, 7000 blessés. Il y a encore des gens qui sont handicapés jusqu'à maintenant. C'était dû au stockage du nitrate d'ammonium d'une façon illégale au port, c'est-à-dire dans le sein d'un port où il y a 5 différents agents de sécurité publique. Et nos frères et nos sœurs ont été tués d'une façon très cruelle. Vous savez l'ampleur de cette explosion. Alors nous, on a la loi est avec nous. Chaque bâtiment ou chaque partie d'un bâtiment qui a témoigné une grande catastrophe telle l'explosion du port de Beyrouth, on peut la sauvegarder comme bien culturel. C'est la loi numéro 37/2028, l'article 1er de la loi. Alors nous, on demandons ce qui est un droit aux victimes. Alors nous avons fait le ministre sortant de la culture, il a inscrit les silos comme sur la liste d'inventaire public, mais il est revenu sur sa décision un peu plus tard. Le gouvernement a pris une décision de démolir les silos, mais on a fait, les parents des victimes, on a fait une action dans le Conseil d'État, Shura Daoulé. On attend les décisions. Jusqu'à maintenant, il n'y a rien qui est sorti. Mais ce qui nous intéresse, ce sont les silos parce que ça représente, c'est un symbole du crime, le plus grand crime du Liban, de l'histoire du Liban. C'est une cicatrice dans l'histoire du Liban. Si on a besoin, parce que c'était au sein d'un public place, nous avons besoin de la justice transitionnelle, ce qui nécessite 4 piliers. La justice, la poursuite des responsables et un mémorial pour les victimes. C'est une nécessité pour qu'il y ait une justice transitionnelle avec les gens, avec le peuple qui a été tué de cette façon cruelle.
Merci
Alors,
bien.
merci beaucoup. Merci.
Bon, alors, je vais juste finir avec ma question. C'est très simple. Vous disiez, peut-être il faut se balader dans le port. Moi, je me suis pas mal baladée dans le port. J'ai fait une étude en 3 ans sur le port, architectural, artistique. Hala, tu es venu voir l'expo. Je suis en fait, je comprends très bien ce que on a dit, c'est que aujourd'hui le port il est contaminé. Juste une idée comme ça, et puis je m'arrête là. Pourquoi ne pas avoir plein d'endroits pour plusieurs silos? Ces silos, c'était 160 000 tonnes de blé et de maïs. Moi, je suis un peu, je comprends ce que M. Tabet dit. Aujourd'hui, 40 000 voitures, on a besoin de 10 000 voitures. Il y a une crise économique, plus personne va acheter des voitures. Il vaut mieux se balader, peut-être construire un tram ou des bus. Pourquoi pas avoir des silos un peu à la Beka, un peu partout? Bien sûr qu'il faut recevoir les silos. Comment maintenant, en ce moment, le Liban est en train de recevoir combien de tonnes de blé déjà? Où? Et comment on déplace ces tonnes de blé? Et peut-être penser qu'aujourd'hui, on a besoin de 30 000 tonnes de blé. On n'a plus besoin de 160 000. Voilà, c'est juste une idée économique.
Merci bien. The last question, yeah, Joe Bitar, please.
Bonjour, Joe Bitar, architecte urbaniste. Monsieur Sporer, je vais vous poser juste une question. Je comprends que vous êtes un fonctionnaire français ici. Non, je vais rester en français, s'il vous plaît. Désolé. Donc, je comprends que vous êtes un fonctionnaire français ici, qui n'avait normalement rien à voir avec les autorités libanaises. Donc, vous n'êtes pas supposé suivre les instructions. Je comprends que nous avons affaire à 2 sociétés quand même de renommée internationale, qui sont Artelia et Gis. La question aujourd'hui, vous êtes venu, vous avez fait des propositions, qui, d'après ce qu'on a compris, vous avez appelé ça un travail itératif, ont été refusées par les ministères et vous ont amené à proposer cette solution. Pourquoi aujourd'hui êtes-vous toujours là? Être complice de la dissimulation d'un meurtre ou de crime, c'est quelque chose quand même d'extraordinaire. Vous pouvez vous retirer, vous pouvez avoir de l'éthique, de la déontologie. Je pense qu'Artelia et Egis ont des chartes de déontologie parce que je collabore avec eux sur certains projets. Pourquoi acceptez-vous? Non, mais justement, ma question, elle est là. Elle est claire. Pour vous, d'être complice et de fournir des alibis techniques à des gens qui veulent dissimuler un crime. Ma question, elle est claire pour vous. C'est une question à...
Alors, je vais essayer de répondre aux 2 questions parce que, bon, madame, je partage votre douleur et je l'ai dit, nous, on a évidemment dit qu'on ne touchait pas à la zone et qu'on n'allait surtout pas intervenir dans ce débat. Et la société libanaise, j'espère qu'elle arrivera à une solution et que la mémoire des victimes sera respectée. Sur votre question sur les silos, je pense que c'est une très bonne question. Il faut qu'on regarde. Il y a peut-être plusieurs options possibles. Il existe même des silos horizontaux, des grands hangars. On n'est pas obligé de faire des silos qui montent. Les 2 questions sur les. Je viendrai à la question très technique de monsieur à la fin. Sur les asbestos, je ne sais plus comment on dit en français, amiante. En fait, il y a eu un appel d'offres qui a été émis par l'autorité portuaire pour éliminer les metal scraps. C'est pas quelque chose qui a été fait caché, c'est un appel d'offres qui a été publié. Ah bah, il faut suivre, c'est au journal officiel. Il y a une décision. Non, c'est pas vrai. Il y a eu plusieurs entreprises qui ont répondu. Il y en a une qui a été sélectionnée. L'autorité des marchés publics a donné son accord. Donc, encore une fois, ça a été fait pour le coup en suivant les règles. Donc, si le cahier des charges était mal rédigé ou les conditions mal posées, les entreprises mécontentes ou la société civile ou les experts avaient moyen de se manifester à l'époque. Donc, moi, je pars du principe que ça a été bien fait. Et c'est, encore une fois, je comprends que ça a démarré aujourd'hui sur les metal scraps, ce qui n'est qu'une partie du problème. C'est une question sur laquelle je serai le premier à vouloir moi-même une réponse. Quant à monsieur, on peut faire des effets de formule, mais encore une fois, ce qu'a fait la France, c'est beaucoup plus simple que ça. On n'a pas maquillé un crime, on a fait des études pour réparer un port. Il ne faut pas exagérer. Et nos experts ont à chaque fois proposé 2-3 alternatives, et il y a des arbitrages qui ont pas. Et je tiens à le dire sous le contrôle de Philippe. C'est pas le ministre qui a dit non, je veux ça, je veux ça. C'était un dialogue avec l'autorité. Parfois, l'autorité nous a dit non. Parce que le port, on l'opère depuis des années, on sait comment ça fonctionne, on sait où sont nos besoins, on sait quel genre de société travaille, quel genre de flux on a, ça sera plus... Les gens qui sont là ont fait des études techniques. Ils n'ont pas dit, encore une fois, et je ne peux pas vous laisser dire ce que vous avez dit. C'est pas acceptable pour mon pays, pour mon ambassade. Que vous disiez que techniquement, ce qu'on a fait, vous n'êtes pas d'accord, mais les grandes formules que vous avez employées, je ne peux pas les accepter.
Allow me to start by expressing gratitude on behalf of the Urban Lab to everyone who has made the past 2 sessions successful and to our partners in this endeavor, the Issam Faris Institute and the Arab Center for Architecture. Thank you to the 2 teams who have agreed to come and share their projects, making this discussion possible. Thank you, Mr. François Sporer, for accepting without hesitation our invitation, for showing flexibility and transparency, and for all the help in making this discussion possible. We also extend our gratitude to the discussants who were willing to play the game and for 2 sessions learn about the projects and engage with the speakers, and to everyone who joined us for these 2 sessions, to those who were willing to give their valuable input, and we were sorry that we couldn't take all your questions. Thank you also to Mr. Qasim Rahal, the representative of the Ministry of Public Works, who joined us for the first session but couldn't make it today, and to all the public actors. We value enormously the openness of all actors who are willing to engage with a wide audience of professionals, and we hope that participation with the civil society and the private and public sectors will continue throughout the phases of this project in line with good planning practices. The number of questions, queries, and comments is clear evidence of the need for these debates to continue. In the past 2 sessions, we were able to see 2 different proposals for the recovery of the port of Beirut. While presented as complementary, there is more reconciliation between both that needs to happen, and probably more scrutiny is required, especially in the project that we've seen today, in terms of budget and details, but mostly in terms of the proposed vision for the port of Beirut and its relation to the city. A catastrophe of the scale we lived on August 4th, 2020, is a resounding alarm that we should not and cannot go back to business as usual, as if nothing happened. In the past 2 sessions and earlier open discussions, we can already see a few things that are loudly demanded by professionals in the fields of planning and transport, by civil society and other city dwellers of Beirut. The first ask is that we need to remember and learn so we can move forward. A good recovery cannot happen without accountability, transparency, good planning, and a commitment to remembrance to ensure such a tragedy will never happen again. A loud demand from civil society, all its members, a memorial as a tribute to all those who lost their lives, providing a space for reflection and healing, and a constant reminder of our community's solidarity, just like Hiroshima, the September 11 Memorial in New York, the Mémorial de Caen in Normandy, and many more throughout the world. A second and unanimous demand is to recover Beirut as a port city, as it has always been. This means that the port cannot turn its back to the city. Any plan should present a clear vision of how it reconnects the city to its waterfront and restore the historical relationship between the neighborhoods surrounding the port and the sea, all while ensuring an optimized functioning of the port that is a priority for the national economic recovery. It is also essential to modernize the port of Beirut beyond its traditional roles of cargo handling and logistics and join the fourth generation ports that are well connected to their environment within a promising vision, including smart technologies, intermodal connectivity, value-added services, and income-generating activities that will also contribute to the local economy, connecting hence the city to its port spatially, but also economically. We should also connect the governance of the two, as proposed by the legal framework that allows for the city authorities to have seats on the port governance body. This model has been successful in Barcelona, Genoa, Rotterdam, and Marseille, to name a few. Beirut is a perfect candidate to join its Mediterranean sister cities. A third demand is not to allow the emergency of the moment to justify a reconstruction that does not address the multiple planning challenges that produced the crisis. Since the end of the Civil War, exceptions have become the norm on the ground that it is going to be temporary, while waiting for a holistic planning vision that never sees the light. We need to rebuild while mitigating the risks posed by poor governance, uncontrolled urbanization, and the practice of valuing the loud voices of the few over the interests of the collective. We need to address long-standing challenges, such as prioritizing public transportation and studying the impacts of the poor on the surrounding neighborhoods, the hinterland, and the coast. The rehabilitation of the port of Beirut will involve significant investments. Each of these should have the public good of the city and its residents as its main priority. This means, and we promise, that we will play our role as research centers to continue to engage actors and encourage discussions. The Beirut Port Discussion Series does not end today. It is an open-ended discussion that we hope to continue with the help of all involved actors, so we make this a practice and the beginning of an era in which the management of public projects in Lebanon is conducted transparently. Thank you.